Friends, welcome family. What's going on, Ma? Welcome you guys to a watch party here. It's a Tuesday here on the stream. Glad you guys could show up. There's a celebrity in the house. Did you guys know? My mom is back in the house. The celebrity has returned. You guys can all get happy again. You can finally be all celebratory and stop acting like you were bored in the party when she wasn't here. Fine, whatever. Hi, Ma. Glad you're back. What a triumphant return. She doesn't even say anything. She just waits. She's like, I'm waiting for the people to greet me. I shall wait for my people to say hi and how much they've missed me. Okay, fine. We missed you. Sure, I can go along with that. Anyways, we got a lot happening as usual. Yeah, thanks, Mom. We got a lot happening as usual. I think you guys saw it in the description there as we were getting started here. I jumped in right before we jumped on now, so there wasn't much time for me to call you guys nerds and all that stuff, especially since I've got multiple things to talk about in only an hour's worth of time. But at least it's not Monday. I don't know if you guys caught me yesterday. I did jump over to TDR, did a nice, fun hour and a half with Jordan Yule, who was filling in for John Idarilla. Check out who's filling in next today. I think John's out all week, gallivanting and doing a bunch of irresponsible things. It's John Idarilla. But anyways, I'm done bashing that guy. Let's move on to this. I think you guys do. Maybe you haven't heard about it, or maybe you have. There's a little thing that happened just last night. Fox News was all over it this morning. They were startled to hear it. This is what it was.
This is a Fox News alert. We have just learned, as Carly was talking, that Dick Cheney has died. We're learning more information as we do. We will continue to pass that along to you, of course. We just literally got this information a few seconds ago.
He was chief of staff under Gerald Ford. He was former Secretary of Defense under George H.W. Bush. He went on to be vice president for 2 terms with George W. Bush and is considered the conservatives' conservative.
They're saying that he died last night at the age of 84, and we just received a statement from his family.
The former vice president died due to complications of pneumonia and cardiac and vascular disease.
Dick Cheney, former vice president, dead at 84 years old, to the surprise of Fox and friends there this morning. As they pointed out, I mean, he had heart issues and all that. He was the first guy before the current president now, where people are counting down the days. And even Don Rumsfeld went before Dick Cheney. So Dick Cheney has passed away. And as you can imagine, there will be tributes all day to Dick Cheney. Trust me, there are going to be tributes all day to Dick Cheney, a standard in American politics. This is more what Fox and friends had to say about that standard.
He was somebody that could withstand a great deal of criticism, be unflappable under pressure. He was a perfect Sunday show because he was able to defend whether it was President George H.W. Bush or George W. Bush in controversial times.
Yeah, Brian, and I think we have to talk about the elephant in the room is with him being side by side with former President Bush during 9/11 in Afghanistan and the wars there, and because he was known as a tactician as well, a big loss for the country as well, dedicated his life to public service and was known as a hawk on the Republican side of the aisle.
He was an American politician. He is the father of Liz Cheney, who went against Donald Trump, as you know. I don't think he ever spoke out against Donald Trump, but he was part of the old guard of the Republican Party.
Lawrence Jones pointed out the elephant in the room when it came to Afghanistan, and I'm not sure if he mentioned Iraq. Those wars that Dick Cheney was very intricate and integral part of starting, continuing, and justifying, which is why, Brian Kilmeade was talking about how he was unflappable in the face of criticism as he stood next to W. Bush. I guess it's been enough time because people forget who Dick Cheney was. And why so many people were waiting and saw that he got his new Iron Heart and were like, damn it. That was a time when that was happening as well. But we've moved on so far to this level of fascism under Donald Trump. People start to see, rainbows and flowers surrounding Dick Cheney. But really fast, before I get to that stuff, Ainsley Earhart did point out one thing. She goes, and we do remember, of course, I mean, his daughter, Liz Cheney, she did go against the Messiah, Donald Trump. And, but the thing is, right now, we're sanitizing Dick Cheney. So we have to make sure that we point out that he never went against the Messiah. He never went against Donald Trump, is what Ainsley Earhart said. I guess, no, I believe her. She probably forgot.
In our nation's 246-year history, There has never been an individual who is a greater threat to our republic than Donald Trump. He tried to steal the last election using lies and violence to keep himself in power after the voters had rejected him. He is a coward. A real man wouldn't lie to his supporters. He lost his election, and he lost big. I know it, he knows it, and deep down, I think most Republicans know it. Lynn and I are so proud of Liz for standing up for the truth, doing what's right, honoring her oath to the Constitution, when so many in our party are too scared to do so. Liz is fearless. She never backs down from a fight. There is nothing more important she will ever do than lead the effort to make sure Donald Trump is never again near the Oval Office. And she will succeed. I am Dick Cheney. I proudly voted for my daughter. I hope you will too. And our name.
I guess Ainsley forgot about that part when he called him a coward and said that he wouldn't lie to his people about things. Ironically, Dick Cheney did a lot of lying to his people about things, very important things that he did a lot of lying about. One of those things, which wasn't as important, I guess, but it's definitely serious, where they were on some duck hunting or quail hunting trip. Do you guys remember this? I'm not sure if you guys are old enough. I'm starting to show my age because, of course, a lot of folks got deeper into politics much later as things became more mainstreamed and more accessible with, social media and everything. But Dick Cheney done shot his boy in the face. I forget the guy's name, but it was like, I think one of those spread shot. I don't know anything about guns. And they were hunting. And as folks may do when they're hunting, sometimes they have a few beers. And there was speculation that Dick Cheney, accidentally shot his boy in the face. And of course, there was a huge story and cover up to deny that is exactly what happened, because that'd get that guy in trouble. And we know Dick Cheney isn't allowed to get in any kind of trouble. But anyway, okay, that was one of the lesser important things that is Dick Cheney was all about. I'm just gonna go through a couple things because Zateo over there, Zateo News, I'm not sure if you guys know about them, but they broke down some things about Dick Cheney that, I mean, again, this is like an opinion style piece, but there's truth all in it. Here's what they pointed out about Dick Cheney that most news organizations are going to forget today. They point out, like, fellow war criminal Slobodan Milosevic, Cheney should have died alone in a prison cell in The Hague. But like the rest of the gang behind the invasion of Iraq, George W. Bush, Tony Blair, Don Rumsfeld, Cheney never faced any legal or even political accountability for his war crimes over the past 2 decades. In recent years, though, he even became a hero in some liberal and Democratic Party circles after denouncing Donald Trump, as we saw, and endorsing Kamala Harris for president. Yet, the Bush-Cheney administration between 2001 and 2009, one of the worst in American history, overseeing skyrocketing deficits and tax cuts for the rich, the abuse of executive power, and the politicization of the Justice Department, the Hurricane Katrina debacle, and of course, the global financial crisis. We do forget about those things, but I feel like we always point out all of the old Republicans that set the stage for this fascist Republican administration that came in, where they pushed the boundaries all the way up to the point of, they of course created a high level of demonization of Muslim folks in this country, which led to many attacks, and also folks having that division that we still see today. That was all going on during W's administration, where, as many people pointed out, Cheney was running the show. Here's more from Zateo. He said, but it was the so-called war on terror and the illegal invasion of Iraq, based on lies about weapons of mass destruction, that Cheney must be remembered for. It was Dick, more than W, who was the driving force behind one of the bloodiest wars of the 21st century. Cheney was a hawkish ideologue, one of the most belligerent politicians of our lifetimes, despite dodging the Vietnam draft on multiple occasions. It was Dick, more than W, who was also the unapologetic architect of America's post 9/11 torture regime. I just think we should remember these things. Yes, there was the torture policies that was going on during W's administration. We saw some of the images of American soldiers torturing prisoners there. We also saw, again, I just want you guys to remember some of the thin connections between these two. What we've got now and what we had then, there was made up information about these weapons of mass destruction. It was debunked all later, once it was way too late, and when millions of people killed over in Iraq and Afghanistan over these wars that were started under those false pretenses. We're seeing now a current fascist in the White House who's trying to start more wars off of false pretenses. We just need to finally learn our lesson. because, as we saw, Dick Cheney sanitized himself a bit. His daughter was on the January 6th committee, which thoroughly and effectively, I think, dug into everything that Donald Trump's connections had to do with trying to overturn the government. So she did the right things there. So I get some of the criticism sometimes people have for embracing the Cheneys at the back end of his life and the back end of her political career. But we can also see what it is that Cheney did. And we saw how there was divisions within Democratic voters based off of that, because there was a huge smoochy kiss embrace. So that's really how this whole thing works. And of course, his actions over there, him, Don Rumsfeld, and the weapons of mass destructions, and the result of potentially millions of people dying there. I just wanted to remind everyone of who Dick Cheney was as he passes away, and as you hear tons of other stories about who it is that he was and his effectiveness as vice president of the United States. So there's that. Oh, I'm sorry. That was the other small connection. As the Zateo article pointed out, he also dodged going to Vietnam, similar to the guy that's in the White House right now. I'm sure his family is mourning. They've lost their father, brother, son. No, probably not their son. Those folks are probably passed before him. Their father, their brother, uncle, all that good stuff. That's who he was, though. Okay, let's go to the news that I had prepped and set up for earlier. As that news came in, I decided to go ahead and at least remind some folks of who Dick Cheney was. I felt it was important to do that. Okay, let's move on to this. Mike Johnson, as you guys may already know, is a liar. So Mike Johnson went on his normal standard of lying, except this time he was talking about one of those aspects of that 60 Minutes interview where Donald Trump, he was talking about his pardons, and in usual Mike Johnson form, he had to act like he didn't know what was going on with that pardon of a criminal that also helped with his crypto business. In other words, like corruption. Here's Mikey.
Questions. Manu, you get it first every time. This is not fair.
Last week, you came here to these mics and you were very critical of Joe Biden's use of the auto plan, his pardon. You said you didn't even know who he was pardoning. The last night on 60 Minutes, President Trump admitted not knowing he pardoned a crypto billionaire who pleaded guilty to money laundering. Does that also concern you?
I don't know anything about that. I didn't see the interview. You have to ask the president about that. I'm not sure. Yes, ma'am. Questions.
Mike Johnson doesn't know. Mike Johnson hadn't heard anything about the nefarious things that Donald Trump has done. Mike Johnson didn't get a glimpse of that 60-minute interview that Donald Trump was a part of over the weekend, where he talked about how he pardoned this guy, this crypto guy who was in direct business with him and his sons to help him accumulate more wealth, up to that, I think, $5 billion that they said they've made just in this second iteration of his presidency. Mike Johnson doesn't know anything, even though Mike Johnson always says he talks to Donald Trump every day about everything. I talk to Donald Trump. I lay up next to his ass cheeks, but he hadn't heard yet from the farts that emit from it anything about this whole thing about pardoning this guy. It's kind of a pattern, and CNN pointed out Mike Johnson's pattern for not knowing anything at the best times.
Listen.
You're shut down.
I don't know anything about that. I didn't see the interview. You have to ask the president about that. I don't know any of the details of that yet. I just heard about that. Literally, I was walking in. I don't know the details about that. I've just read it. I didn't talk with him about that. I don't know the latest developments. That's first I've heard of that. I don't know anything about it. I don't know what you're talking about with the children. I haven't seen that, so I'm not going to comment on it.
Listen.
If he can't come up with the lie in real time, he just doesn't know anything about it. The good news for Mike Johnson is I don't think many reporters come back and follow up the next day and said, have you heard about it yet? Because we've been talking about it. I mentioned it to you yesterday. Here, actually, I have the video right here. Let me run it for you now and get your natural reaction to what it is that you know nothing about. How many times does Mike Johnson know nothing about anything? It's always the things that also this president, who doesn't realize how bad he looks, or it's going to be more honest, doesn't care how bad he looks, always says he doesn't know when things are really about to hit the fan.
Today you pardoned the founder of Binance. Can you explain why you chose to pardon him, and did it have anything to do with his involvement in your
Which one? Who
family's?
is that?
The founder of Binance. He has a involvement in your own
The
family's
recent
crypto
one, yes.
business.
I believe we're talking about the same person because I do pardon a lot of people. I don't know. He was recommended by a lot of people. a lot of people say that, are you talking about the crypto person? A lot of people say that he wasn't guilty of anything.
Why did you pardon him?
Okay, are you ready? I don't know who he is. I know he got a 4-month sentence or something like that. And I heard it was a Biden witch hunt. Well, here's the thing. I know nothing about it because I'm too busy doing the other.
But he
I can
got a
only tell
pardon.
you that.
But he got a
No,
pardon.
I can only tell you this. My sons are into it. I'm glad they are because it's probably a great industry, crypto.
He just doesn't know. That's multiple times. That was at a different press conference, I believe, last week, and then over the weekend on 60 Minutes, talking about why it is that he doesn't know anything about the guy that he pardoned. I pardon a lot of people. I have no idea what it is that I'm doing. No clue what it is I'm doing. Keep that in mind. And remember what it is that these Republicans have been saying about Joe Biden not knowing what he's doing, specifically on pardons. So, of course, the question should be asked. Here's an ass kisser. He got on CNN for some reason and decided to allow this question to be asked of him when he has to give the same answers that Mike Johnson gives.
Should the president know who he's pardoning?
Well, I don't know anything about this one. That's the first time I've seen that. But I would say the president has the authority to pardon people, and that's within his realm to do it. So I'm not going to question who he pardons, who he doesn't pardon.
But the argument from Republicans is that Biden used an auto pen for pardons and that he didn't know who he was pardoning. I mean,
Well, we know
Trump
that
is
to be
openly
true.
saying he did not know who he was pardoning.
Well, he said it was recommended to him. So he said it was recommended to him. He gets a lot of recommendations. And he pardons a lot of people. That was his words. If you talk about the difference between Biden, his pardons were an auto pen. That's not even up for
But
discussion.
Biden also knew. I mean, he pardoned his family members. He knew who they were.
Well,
So just
that was one of how many thousands did he pardon? My point that I'm trying to get to, Caitlin, I'm not trying to avoid the question. I don't know anything about it. It's the first time I've heard about the pardon. The president has a right to pardon who he wants to. I guarantee he signed the pardon himself, not an auto pen. And I know he has to take recommendations. That's what we all do. You take recommendations. I take recommendations. We got a great team that works around us. He's got a great team that works around him, and he trusts them. He trusts them good enough that if he thinks, I mean, you heard him say that if they think it needs to be pardoned, then he'll sign the pardon. If he thinks they need to be dug in farther, then they'll dig in farther. He has a right to question whoever he wants, but he also trusts his team around him.
But would you want to know who you're pardoning if you're pardoning someone?
I'm not the president of the United States, nor the governor of a state. I'm a senator, one of 100.
Markwayne Mullin wants you to know that he doesn't have a thought process. He doesn't have any principles. He doesn't have any belief systems. That is, unless he's criticizing any other president that has conducted any pardons. But he said, I'm not going to question who he pardons. Why would you question who anybody pardons then? Why do you say anything about pardons? Why are you talking about auto pens and Joe Biden if you don't question who the president pardons? Because, Joe Biden was a president despite what you guys have all been saying since 2020 when he got his ass whooped. But still, if you don't question this president, that means that you're just biased in your assessments of people's pardons. Fine, be biased in it. But how is it you know nothing about this if you have so many thoughts about pardons all the time? He just doesn't think about it when Donald Trump does this. I think it's pretty obvious that these guys are just cowards. These guys don't have any principles. You can sit up there with a straight face with your big ass cowboy hat on and say that, I'm just a senator. I don't question things. I don't have any thoughts about pardons because I'm just a senator. No belief systems, nothing. But there's this auto pen issue that Markwayne Mullin has a problem with. Also, if you have to tell Caitlin Collins that you're not trying to dodge their question, I think it's pretty clear that you're trying to dodge the questions. I never run this piece of shit asshole. I don't do it. But I just want to show how far the lengths really go with trying to be piggybacking on Donald Trump's claim and Mike Johnson's forgetfulness about this pardon of this guy who helped him gain more money in this corrupt scandal that everyone sees right in front of us. Scott Jennings tried for a while.
Okay, one man, right? So you're telling me that Trump has no idea that he pardoned perhaps one of the most prominent people to ever be convicted in crypto, a business that his family is deeply embedded in. Again, you want us to believe that that is not something that he would know or understand.
No, I don't.
And that if he didn't know and understand it, that would be okay with you.
I don't want you to believe anything, and I'm certainly not acquainted with all the details of it. I'm just telling you that
I believe that the president probably doesn't personally know this person. I also believe
I
that
didn't ask if he
I
personally
also
knew
believe
him.
that the
I
president was
asked if he
probably lobbied
knew.
about this, and I believe that a group of advisors probably
Do
told
you
him that
think that he knows
he was
that his
over
family?
prosecuted by Biden.
Do you
I
think
all
he
those
knows
things
that
are
his
true.
family is in business with his company?
I think he probably knows his family.
And you think that's okay? Do you think that's okay?
He got a recommendation?
Do you think that it's okay that he pardoned somebody that his family is right at this very moment in business with, and who shortly after that pardon sent out a message promoting the Trump family crypto business? You're okay with that?
No, it's totally above board, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, by the way,
Obviously, there's nothing to
by the
see
way,
here,
first of all,
guys.
A for effort. I mean, I want to let you both know. I mean, look.
So also, Moskowitz went on to rant and rave some more. But Scott Jennings there, once you get cornered and you ask enough questions, it just turns to the next thing, the next deflection. It's just obvious. We need to highlight those moments. When we see those moments, people stop and go, oh, got him. And then we move on and don't go, Scott Jennings lies. Why is Scott Jennings lying about this particular thing when it comes to Donald Trump, who is obviously in this corrupt business deal, willing to pardon someone for his own benefit? And all you can say is, I'm not going to question it. Well, why don't you question corruption, obvious corruption in your face? It tells me that you might be okay with corruption, and maybe you shouldn't win your next election, or maybe you shouldn't be on TV acting like you're some kind of non-biased commentator who analyzes politics, when in reality, what you are is a water carrier for this administration and trying to prolong their fascist rule over this country. That's just what it is. It's why I don't play that asshole that I talked about before, but I just want to show the full lengths of how this all goes. Here's the hypocrisy, the deep hypocrisy behind it. Because as I pointed out, they like to talk about Biden a whole lot, but they never go to these flashbacks from last year before the election when Mike Davis, this sorry sumbitch, was talking about Joe Biden and pardons.
This is very strange. So I approved of the pardons, but I didn't personally approve of all of them. That's like what the meaning of the word is. Mike, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, the president has very broad pardon power. And I guess you can use an auto pen to sign a pardon. Politicians use auto pens. I've never heard of it for a pardon or signing legislation, but okay. But at a minimum, the president needs to know who he's pardoning. And President Biden admits that he didn't even know who he was pardoning.
I heard Donald Trump admit that he didn't know who he's pardoning. It was a lie, but he admitted that he didn't know who he was pardoning. Because if he said he did know who he was pardoning, he'd have to then take that next question of, well, since you knew him, you understood that he was a criminal and that you pardoning him would help you get some more money in this crypto business that you and your sons are acting like you have no coordination in. See, those are the questions that they're trying to avoid. So they just say, not realizing or not caring, let's be honest, that not knowing what you're doing is probably just as bad, if not worse. I don't know. I just release criminals all the time. I released all those January 6th criminals in the streets, and many of them have gone back to prison. Many of them have violent backgrounds and then violent presence and then violent futures. In fact, one of them trying to then murder someone of his political opponents as well. I mean, but who cares? He doesn't know who he pardons. He just pardons people, gets them back out in the streets because he's a crime leader. He's a 34-time felon. Why would a 34-time felon give a damn about releasing more criminals back into the streets? It's odd. But Mike Johnson, before the election, for some reason, Mike Davis, I'm sorry, that's some bitch. Mike Davis, before the election, was very big on talking about how detrimental and devastating it is for someone to not know who it is that they're pardoning. But now I'm sure Mike Davis is like, pardon? Can you define the word pardon? I say all this to point out no one trusts these guys. So back to Mike Johnson, who doesn't know one thing from the next. That is until Donald Trump tells him what is he supposed to know. He's frustrated and distraught over this entire back and forth over the government shutdown and how no one trusts or believes his ass anymore, if anyone really ever did. Check out this gaslighting. Think of the term gaslighting as you hear him frustratingly talk about it.
And still, according to an NBC poll, 52% of Americans are blaming congressional Republicans and or Donald Trump, as opposed to 42% blaming Democrats. Why would the polls look like that when you are clearly voting to continue to fund the government? Democrats are not voting to continue to fund the government.
Well, for one thing, the polls are all over the place. I mean, CNN was reporting just on Friday of last week that Republicans were winning this as if it was some sort of political game. The only people who lose here are the American people. But those statistics like that, polls like that, don't surprise me. The entire media establishment is parroting the talking points of the Democrats every day. It's the most staggering level of gaslighting we have ever seen in American politics. Literally, the Democrats have voted 14 times to close the government down, where Republicans have voted 14 times to open it. And right after they cast the votes, Will, they go out and find the nearest television camera they can. They look right into the lens and they say, it's the Republicans' fault. I mean, it's just madness. It's absolutely the opposite of the truth. But I think the longer this drags on and the more pain that's experienced by real Americans, I think they're going to be digging beyond the headlines and looking to see who's really responsible. And the facts are very clear.
Yeah.
I agree, Mikey. The facts are very clear. As he pointed out at the back end of there, all he's waiting for is more pain, suffering, and devastation. And then the facts will somehow become more clear from looking at realistic responses that people are having in real life. And you don't have to believe the polls, just understand how people are talking about your ass. But it's the media establishment. Man, they always have some kind of scapegoat. If it's not Biden, it's the media establishment. If it's not the media establishment, then it's Barack Obama. Then it's those terrorists in the Democratic Party. But they're just parroting those Democratic talking points. You know how the media parrots Democratic talking points all the time. Not this propaganda that comes out of this administration like every day. But my favorite part was him bringing up gaslighting. This guy gaslights every day. Like this, it's weird that their standard only objective, their only tactic in anything that they say is to lie to you and then tell you that the people they're against are doing what they're currently doing right in front of your face. So there's never been, he even went with a Donald Trump style description of it. The staggering level of gaslighting that it's never been seen before in the history of politics. Come on, bro. We already know that Donald Trump said that you're his puppet and that he's both the president and the speaker of the House because your only effectiveness is lying for him. There's another reason why no one trusts these guys and knows that they're the ones that have the issue with this government shutdown. I mean, they can keep talking about the vote being there, but people are understanding why the vote is being had. And if the vote was had, what they would then do with their power back in a running government of doing nothing about people's healthcare. That's why people keep asking this guy, what is your healthcare plan? It's why he keeps saying this. This is not new. You heard him say it last week. You heard him say it in the middle of the week, and then he said it again on the weekend.
Republican Party.
So another thing that happened this weekend is open enrollment began for Obamacare. People are seeing a change in their premiums, essentially, if these subsidies that are set to expire at the end of the year are not changed, renewed, handled in some way. Last time you were here, we talked about Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, who had some real frustrations about this. Where is the Republican plan? I know you two had talked. Well, she posted this on X this week. She says, Johnson said he's got ideas and pages of policy ideas and committees of jurisdiction are working on it, but he refused to give one policy proposal to our GOP conference on our own conference call. Apparently, I have to go into a SCIF, referencing a protected intel sharing type place, to find out the Republican healthcare plan. And there are a lot of exclamation points there.
Yeah. I don't know what to say about that. I mean, that's absurd.
Sure
Obviously,
don't.
we're not going to be on a conference call explaining all of our plans and strategies for healthcare reform because they're leaked in real time. Literally, when I have a conference call with all my members, it's tweeted out by journalists. They're supposed to be private, but they're not. And so Marjorie knows that. She knows she can come into my office any day at any hour, and I'll just lay out everything for her. The committees of jurisdiction, the people who specialize in all of this, have been working on this around the clock for a long time. In fact, we published 60 or 70 pages of healthcare reform ideas in 2019 when I was the chair of the Republican Study Committee, the largest caucus in Congress. Our ideas have been out there for a long time. We're formulating the final plan that will bring down premiums. There's only one party in America that is going to do that. Remember, the Democrats are the ones that created the system that is failing us. They created Obamacare. They said it was going to bring down costs. It's done exactly the opposite. Premiums, by some estimates, are up 60% since Obamacare was created in 2010. So it's the Republican Party that is going to bring down the cost, not the Democrats. They've already proven what they're about.
I think we all know. The one thing that Mike Johnson's good at, which I don't know, maybe because I know they're coming too, because I listen to him talk this much, is his list of lies to go through. You're supposed to go through then talking about blaming Democrats for the shutdown, how they won't do this, that, and the third. Then somehow, then talking about the ACA and how devastating it was that you guys have this plan. But before that, the same lie about how they have this secret, top secret plan, and if we actually mention it, the media might run with it. If you have a great healthcare plan that you're talking about how you're saving everyone's premiums from going up and you got this plan in place, all you got to do is have a chance to debate it a little bit. If these Democrats would just come back to the table, if you had all that, who doesn't want that out in the media? Who doesn't want a great, foolproof, killer plan in the media? The media might take our plan and start reporting about it and let everybody know that we're the heroes. You lying sumbitch. That's why nobody's buying it anymore. So instead, the frustration builds. This was fun. It's somewhat related as far as the people who have any kind of clout or push in this administration. But Larry Kudlow was in the first Trump administration. He's back on Fox Business, campaigning from there. He's frustrated about the blame going on Republicans as well.
I have to reimagine Congress now because I don't see an end to it. I'm with Senator Blackburn. There's always a reason why there's somehow going to be a new CR, but the Democrats keep opposing it. Okay, I think it has a lot to do with the Trump derangement syndrome. But no, this isn't Trump's fault. He didn't do this. They're the ones doing it.
I totally agree. I mean, think about it. You got John Fetterman saying this is the Democrats' fault. You got the largest federal government employee union saying open up the government, and still they won't do it because of what you just described, this Trump derangement syndrome. And they try to flip it and say somehow it's President Trump's fault. I mean, you had the clip there from Hakeem Jeffries saying this is intentional and malicious. Baloney, they're the ones who said they're going to be suffering. They're the ones who said it gets better every day. They're the ones who are talking politics and ignoring what their own United States Senator, Mr. Fetterman, said, and ignoring what the federal government employee union said. They're the ones ignoring that. So Senator Blackburn's exactly right. They've had now 13 times to do this. And this is largely a debate between Chuck Schumer and Chuck Schumer. It's a debate he's having with himself.
I think it's a debate you guys keep having on TV. It's not Trump's fault. If you have to go on TV and get piggybacked by Larry Kudlow and scream that it's not Trump's fault, I don't think that's convincing people that already know that it's Trump's fault. But what they're responding to, there's always an audience of one that these folks, these elected officials and well-paid anchors on TV, there's one audience member that they're talking to. They're freaking out because he's freaking out. This is what he posted. So many fake polls are being shown by the radical left media, all slanted heavily toward Democrats and far left wingers. In the fair polls and even the reasonable polls, I have the best numbers I have ever had. And why shouldn't I? I ended 8 wars, created the greatest economy in the history of our country, kept prices, inflation, and taxes down, and I'm setting standards for right track, wrong track for a future USA. Fake news will never change. They are evil and corrupt. But as I look around my beautiful surroundings, I say to myself, oh, look, I'm sitting in the Oval Office. I don't think that was very effective in trying to downplay the fact that nobody likes you. And also they have to glance at a couple of polls and see that, your polling numbers suck. So you can keep lying. And when people see it, they're like, oh, that's why this guy's a liar. He just keeps lying. That's really all he does. And when he freaks out and throws ketchup against the wall, the rest of his minions have to then react, clean it up, and maybe find a way to say the same thing and convince people of the same. It's just it's this vicious cycle that we've been going through. But you know what? Let's shift gears. I've been wanting to make it a standard on this stream every week, at least one day minimum. That means more, could do a lot more. 1 day a week to go back to talk about the developments of these Epstein files, because we're not going to let this shit go. As I told John before, and I've said on this stream as well, I think it's one of the biggest things that could crack open so many people that are the controllers and the levers of our society. It's the reason why it's the most important thing for them to cover up. It's why the flip-flop has happened. But you know what I discovered? Thomas Massey is pissing more people off. He went on I can't remember the man's name on the Blaze network. So it's a conservative, generally I would think a conservative podcast. But Thomas Massey went on there to talk about the complications and the issues going on with this government shutdown and the developments as far as the Epstein files. Check out Thomas Massey here.
My theory is that the primary reason Speaker Mike Johnson has not reconvened the House is because the first thing that's going to happen is he's going to swear in the 218th vote that you need with Ro Khanna to force a discharge petition on the Epstein files. Is that the only reason we're not convening the House?
It's goes even one step beyond that, Matt. We are having pro forma sessions. So one of the reasons we do pro forma sessions is the Senate is still meeting, and the House and the Senate need to both be meeting for Congress to be meeting. And so about every 4 legislative days, a member from maybe Maryland or somewhere near in Pennsylvania takes the gavels in, they say the prayer and the pledge, and they announce when they will meet again and the gavel back out. The speaker could be swearing in during that pro forma session, this newest member. And then it takes 7 days before we can have the vote on the Epstein release of the files. It takes 7 days, legislative days. And each of those pro forma sessions during a shutdown, we have ascertained, counts toward those 7 days. So not only is he keeping this thing from starting to happen, he's keeping the clock from moving, and he's keeping a congressional district in Arizona from being represented.
That was just the beginning of Thomas Massey talking very critically about what is that Mike Johnson's doing, all the elements of how this government shutdown benefits he and Donald Trump's commitment to continue to cover up these Epstein files. Those pro forma sessions that I've showed you guys some videos of some Republican heading that session, gaveling in and gaveling right back out because they don't want to swear in Representative-elect Adelita Grijalva. So as you hear Thomas Massey break down all the background and how this whole thing works and why it is that Mike Johnson's so afraid, he goes on TV, that is Mike Johnson, and tells those same lies. I'm gonna try not to run this whole thing because we've heard it so many times. You may think I'm running the same damn video. It's not.
Seated Representative-elect Adelita Grijalva. There's now a lawsuit about this. They say there's no dispute about her election or her qualifications, and add this. Speaker Johnson wishes to delay seating Ms. Grijalva to prevent her from signing a discharge petition that would force a vote on the release of the Epstein files and or to strengthen his hand in the ongoing budget and appropriations negotiations. Why hasn't she been sworn in? What's your response to the lawsuit?
Oh, this is so ridiculous. And we could take 30 minutes and talk about all this, but Rep-elect Grijalva will be sworn in as soon as we get back to regular session. Remember, it's the Democrats who shut the Congress down, so we can't do that.
Can you not swear her in, though, when you're not operating in regular?
There is a precedent for doing a pro forma session swearing in, but we're not engaging in regular business right now. And what I'm doing is following the Pelosi precedent in the past when she was speaker, and you had representatives elected during special elections, special situations. When Congress was on recess or out, she would wait until the regular session to do it. I'm doing the exact same thing. But the Epstein thing is a complete red herring. It's a distraction from what's going on right now and them causing harm to the American people with the shutdown. The Epstein estate documents are out. The Epstein files are out. 43,000 pages so far.
That's then when he goes into the thinly veiled lies about how they've already released the Epstein files, all the things that everyone already knew and saw, and don't actually give any meat and details behind who it is that was behind these things, who were the clients and other folks who participated in the trafficking of young girls. So Mike Johnson's a liar. By the way, again, I said it yesterday. Whenever they get caught in a lie, they just move on and then tell the lie again the next day. Mike Johnson's the same guy who brought up that lie about the Pelosi precedent that he said every time he talks about this. And I believe it was John Carl over at ABC who jumped in and said, actually, during that whole Pelosi precedent line that you keep pushing, he pointed out that during that time when Pelosi delayed that, it was because the people that she was going to swear in delayed it themselves. They set that date. There is no Pelosi precedent that Mike Johnson's going after. It's been debunked but he goes back on TV and tells it as if no one busted him on it, because he knows that Fox News Sunday is not going to go, wait a second, the guy that we say to hate over at ABC already busted you on this lie. Try again. So that's how liars continue to keep going on and telling more and more of their lies. But let's dig back into what Thomas Massey was saying, because he keeps blowing the lid off of these guys and their lies. And every time you hear it, you have to ask yourself, why is Moses Mike Johnson, who's committed to Jesus so much, so committed instead to covering up for child sex traffickers?
I should have mentioned that what Speaker Johnson is doing is unprecedented. Okay. Whenever we've had a shutdown in the past, and I've been through maybe about half a dozen of these, we always still meet, because presumably that we're responsible for the shutdown. And so if you're going to get out of this situation, you should be meeting. And also, if you're in the majority, why wouldn't you want to have hearings? Why wouldn't we want to uncover the things that happened during the Biden administration? So he's calling it the Schumer shutdown, but I'm calling it the Epstein recess. He's not only are we shut down, we're in recess, and that's unconventional, unprecedented in the 13 years I've been in Congress. The other thing that Speaker Johnson established a precedent on himself. Until Speaker Johnson had been Speaker, I never had observed this, but he swore into members during a pro forma session. They happened to be Republicans. And now he's has no real good reason for why he's not swearing in the Democrat during a pro forma session.
Some of those facts, we did know that back in when, of course, Mike Johnson did swear in Republicans before. I'm not following the Pelosi precedent in that particular case. But the big thing here is the unprecedented moves. They're in a government shutdown, but he's never seen them go into full recess. It's the second time that Mike Johnson sent everyone home because he didn't want more things to happen. Both times it was surrounding this Epstein file release. It's crazy how he keeps going in that direction. Hey, here's more of Thomas Massey. This guy would not stop talking. It's crazy.
All right. So then there's two other components we really need to talk about. One is the hearing with the FBI director. Oh, here's another thing the shutdown prevents. It prevents the Attorney General from testifying in front of my committee. So it's very convenient. It drags that out. If we're having, the shutdown doesn't prevent it, the recess does. Mm-hmm. So the speaker is having a recess, not just to avoid the impending vote on this issue, but to avoid any hearings whatsoever where this issue would come up. We did get the hearing with Kash Patel, the FBI director, and I had 5 minutes. And so as not to waste my 5 minutes, I also took some extra time to introduce into the record 5 documents, each of which shows that Jeffrey Epstein was an intelligence asset to Israel and to the United States. And so, and even if he's not, there is a CIA file on Jeffrey Epstein that I want to see. I asked Kash Patel, has he seen it? And he didn't know if it existed. And I said, well, wouldn't you be interested in asking for that? Like, that's one of the things you're allowed to see is the CIA file on Jeffrey Epstein. Like, you're suspiciously uncurious about that.
Did you know any of that? I didn't know that. Did you know that in a committee hearing, to not go over his 5 minutes when he wanted to ask other questions, Thomas Massey, as he just said, there introduced documents showing that Epstein was an intel asset to both Israel and the United States. It's like it matches up perfectly with all the rest of these stories that were also Michael Wolff was a part of telling some of these stories about the numbers of people internationally powerful leaders, billionaires across the world that were a part of this whole child sex trafficking ring, which would tell you why they're trying to cover this up so badly, which would tell you why this was covered up across multiple administrations. Of course it has, because those people in power internationally and here at home control our politicians, control whether or not they get busted. Of course, they buy their freedom. Of course, they buy their criminal activity. We're looking at the guy in the White House who brags about it every day. That's what they're about. But did you know it? Because people were speculating that Epstein was an intel asset. Why aren't we talking about this every day? Because the folks that would get caught up in it don't want us talking about it every day. Last aspect. He said that recess, instead of just the government shutdown, keeps Pam Bondi and Kash Patel from talking about it even more in any committees. So he's covering up for everybody. Because we saw the last time that Pam Bondi was in a hearing where someone had to grill her on questions. She had a bunch of scribble notes for attack lines instead, but she had nothing to say when she was asked by Sheldon Whitehouse. How about those pictures of Donald Trump hanging out with girls? Just want to remind everyone of that too. Hey, here's more of Thomas Massey.
There are people asking, well, why don't these women release the names? And the reason is these are billionaires like that. So what happened is Epstein, once they got to the age of consent, they weren't exciting to him anymore. And he would traffic them to his friends. Now, so you might, at this point, they're going to say, oh, well, there were prostitutes. They were 18. They were age of consent. Jeffrey Epstein was giving them something. And then they did, sexual things with these men. And so what happens is those men who have billions of dollars, they had money to pay off police departments, to lose reports, to pay off judges. What they would typically do is they would, a lot of these girls were from families that weren't very affluent. The family would end up with $150,000 up to $500,000 of money, and the girl wouldn't testify. So basically, that's one of the things they would do. But now they would just sue them into poverty for defamation. And if you don't have the power that the government has to discover these facts, then you can't contest the defamation case well enough. And the process is the punishment. They basically go broke just trying to hold up their name.
So next time someone tells you that these victims, these survivors of these horrific actions are coming out at convenient times, or they must be lying, or how come they stayed quiet for so long, when all those excuses come forward, just remember, I don't know if we heard it very clearly, but Thomas Massey was talking about how billionaires use their money to influence and destroy other people's lives. It's like standard. And so, of course, you go through litigation. And when someone who doesn't have any money, which is one of the reasons why they targeted people who come from, meager backgrounds, is because it doesn't provide you much defense or even offense when it comes to accusing these guys of doing what it is that they've done to you. It's reasons why they go after the least powerful folks, because it stays that way. Man, Thomas Massey's telling everything. It's wild. Also, last little piece from Massey, because this guy, he talked for 7 minutes. It was crazy. You guys should check it out. It was Matt Kibbe, Kibbe. I'm probably mispronouncing his name, who had this interview with Thomas Massey. If you have the time, you should check the whole thing out. But last little piece from this that was interesting to me of what it is that I saw. He was also asked and talked about why it is, because this is another curiosity question from the Cash Patels, the Dan Bonginos, and of course the Donald Trumps, why they made this quick flip on when their commitment to getting these Epstein files out there. And now when they're in power, they don't want anything to do with it. I have my suspicions. Here's Thomas Massey.
There's also the intelligence aspect of this that goes even deeper. Maybe Trump is on one plane and he's thinking, I can't embarrass my friends. But there may be people in the administration who are career people who are thinking on another plane. They're like, well, let's convince Trump he's going to embarrass his friends, when in reality, what we're trying to do is protect our sources and methods, which may involve sex trafficking.
Yeah.
And we don't want to embarrass our partner, Israel, in this time when the popularity for their war or support for their war is at an all-time low. And now we're going to find out that their defense minister, Ehud Barak, met was documented with Jeffrey Epstein 3 dozen times, probably even while he was defense minister. He had previously been prime minister. I don't know that he knew Epstein during that period. I'm not sure how much of those dates overlap, but there are reasons that they want to protect them. There's reasons he's flipped. And I don't think his children or J.D. Vance or even Pam Bondi or Kash Patel were read into all that when they originally said all of this stuff should be released.
And then they read into it. And that's when eyes were bucked wide open. Remember the interview? Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, they were sitting on Fox Business or Fox News with Maria Bartiromo, and they were like, they were scared as shit. Pam Bondi has been scared multiple times. She's openly gasped when people asked a question. So I don't know what degree they knew before, but there's something that they've seen, as we've all pointed out and said before. They saw something or heard something and said, we've got to shut the F up. And now that's what it is they're doing. Massey's breaking it down. So in case you don't want to believe Massey, this was curious to me. Donald Trump posted this. Of course, he's been going after Thomas Massey. We know he comes after him at times. He put this over on Truth Social. It says, third-rate Congressman Thomas Massey, a weak and pathetic rhino from the great Commonwealth of Kentucky, a place I love, and won big 6 times, must be thrown out of office ASAP. The incredible people of Kentucky's 4th Congressional District gave us a mandate to make America great again, in all caps. And then he went on to talk about this guy who he wants to replace Thomas Massey. His name is Captain Ed Gallerin. He said he's a true America First patriot. If you guys are as miserable as I am and follow all this stuff to the degree that I do, that whole first paragraph should have sounded very familiar, because that was posted on November 3rd, just yesterday. And now I was like, wait a second. Are people reporting this old post? I mean, that was from like, a week or two ago, right? It's only because Donald Trump posted nearly the exact same post back in October 19th, and then again on November 3rd. Let me read a little bit of that first paragraph in case you remember what I just read. Here's the one from October 19th. Third-rate Congressman Thomas Massey, a weak and pathetic rhino from the great Commonwealth of Kentucky, a place I love, and won big 6 times, must be thrown out of office ASAP. The only difference is on the back end. Donald Trump didn't write run Ed run -MAGA on the original one. He did write that. And then on the one that was posted yesterday, he did not. They're freaking out. We should keep the pressure on. Donald Trump is freaking out. And when Donald Trump freaks out, all the people that are afraid of him and who he has dirt on and who knows all of his dirty secrets, they freak out too. That's why they're all freaking out. That's why the government continues to be shut down. That's why Mike Johnson is acting like he doesn't have any idea why no one believes me. And those polls must be really crazy about the fact that we have this government shutdown. And it's obviously all our fault. He doesn't make any sense because they're following and protecting a guy that doesn't make any sense. Here's one last quick one. Today, there's elections going on. Today, the big one everyone's talking about is up in New York City. Zohran Mamdani. I believe this was just yesterday. This has been going on. Did you guys see this? Andrew Cuomo, for some reason, is still trying to, I guess, salvage this race. It's not looking too good from, as you guys may have heard. He went on this morning show on Hot 97 in New York, of course, the local station you've seen, and it was Ebro in the morning. Did you guys see this exchange?
Americans and the Jamaican Americans and the Haitian Americans that are getting ran down on by ICE and mistreated by ICE. And you know where that's coming from? Your boy was just on 60 Minutes, Cuomo, saying that you're his guy.
No. First of
Trump said you're his candidate. If he had to pick a bad Democrat or what did he say? Or a communist. Or a communist, he's picking you.
Hello?
I think that they cut him off. I think he had to rap.
You just get, oh. I really wanted to hear that answer. That's what I was going to ask you.
Ebro just got spicy.
Oh.
I heard a click before the boop.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, well.
Well. So that was awkward. And obviously, I mean, speculatively, Andrew Cuomo took off when he was asked about that endorsement coming from Donald Trump. Everyone knows the Donald Trump endorsement. Everyone knows that Donald Trump was talking about how you got to vote in Cuomo. Everyone's heard it because Donald Trump doesn't shut the fuck up. Everyone heard it. So you might as well go ahead and stay there and be like, I mean, I don't whatever it is he's going to say, because he sucked at all his other answers as well. But the thing is Zoran Mamdani jumped right on it. He said, Andrew Cuomo picks up the phone to call Donald Trump and hangs up when he's asked about it, and then reposted that moment from Ebro in the morning. He pounced right on it really fast. Matter of fact, maybe this is why he's kicking Cuomo's ass around, because Cuomo keeps stepping in it. This is an Instagram post from Zoran Mamdani. It's like a political poster. And there's a quote at the top, I'm going to pick Cuomo. And he quotes Donald Trump from 60 Minutes interview just from November 2nd. Trump endorses Cuomo. Look at those two guys, hand in hand, buddy, buddy. They agree on so many things, especially how much they hate Zoran Mamdani. So you guys ready for the excuses? This came from Cuomo's people about that hang up, that very embarrassing moment when they're like, we'd rather you hang up than to keep talking about this, Andrew, because we're right on the verge of getting our asses whooped. Here's what happened. Cuomo's PR team, after that interview, said it was simply a bad connection, striking at a really bad time. So that awkward moment happened during Cuomo's appearance, of course, as I pointed out, at Ebro in the morning on Hot 97 in New York City. Hey, if you had a bad connection, this is the thing. They're talking to humans. They're talking to American citizens. Whenever you've had a bad connection, you know, oh, shit, my phone dropped. Man, this call just dropped off. And when that happens, what you do is you're like, let me call back. Or I'm waiting for them to call back. Why didn't that happen? It was such a bad connection. But we decided, you know, bad connection at the bad time. So we decided the best option later is to not talk back to them anymore. That doesn't make any sense. All you have to do is listen to what they're saying, and you understand it doesn't make any sense. Hey, here's more. Jeff Colton, a political reporter focused on New York politics, later reported that Cuomo's campaign said his phone call had dropped right as Ebro was berating him over having Trump's support. But it seemed like Cuomo might have hung up. That's from Jeff Colton. Colton also added, either way, Hot 97 apparently, this is the crazy part, deleted that awkward moment from their YouTube page. Did someone lean on them to delete that moment so that people wouldn't see it? It's weird. It's like they're going further than just saying, yo, the phone call dropped off. Let's delete that whole moment from the YouTube page. One more. Not only has the video been pulled from YouTube, but the audio appears to have been stripped from the show's episode of Spotify as well. This is crazy. And a page on the station's website dedicated to the interview stopped working on Monday afternoon as well. The good news is there's social media, and someone reposted it anyway. I don't know, someone on the team, I'm not sure if it was Ebro himself, I don't know, but someone went back and posted that awkward stuff that got scrubbed from Spotify, from YouTube, and everywhere on a simple dropped call, as Cuomo's people said that it was. Come on, man. So, you know, in case anyone still wonders or figured that Ebro was lying, I apologize, because here's Donald Trump freaking the fuck out. This is from 4:16 p.m. just yesterday on Monday. If communist candidate Zoran Mamdani wins the election for mayor of New York City, it's highly unlikely that I'll be contributing federal funds other than the very minimum as required to my beloved first home, because of the fact that, as a communist, this once great city has zero chance of success or even survival. It can only get worse with a communist at the helm, and I don't want to send as president good money after bad. It is my obligation to run the nation, and it is my strong conviction that New York City will be a complete and total economic and social disaster should Mamdani win. Pause. Oddly, everything he's saying, don't forget, everything they say is projection. All this stuff is happening under Donald Trump. Here's more of him. His principles have been tested for over 1,000 years, and never once have they been successful. I would much rather see a Democrat who has had a record success win than a communist with no experience and a record of complete and total failure. He was nothing as assemblyman, ranked at the bottom of the class, and as mayor of potentially, again, the greatest city in the world, he has no chance to bring it back to its former glory. We must also remember this. A vote for Chris Silva, who looks much better without the beret, what an idiot, is a vote for Mamdani. Whether you personally like Andrew Cuomo or not, here's the money line. You really have no choice. You must vote for him. And I hope he does a fantastic job. He's capable of it. Mamdani is not. Must be confusing for folks who hated them some Andrew Cuomo when he was running the state, who hated them, everything about him, his government, his COVID-19 shutdowns, all the things that he was doing. Now they've got Donald Trump very long-windedly endorsing Andrew Cuomo with like first 75-80% of it with really bad bashing of Zohran Mamdani, which actually probably convinces more people, yo, I don't want anything to do with this guy. And then you end up voting for Mamdani. It's all happening today. And the freak out from Donald Trump is really the icing, because he understands how bad this can get today. Here's another post. This came like a few minutes later. This is all capitals. Virginia, New Jersey. Remember this. A vote for a Republican means substantially lower energy prices. A vote for a Democrat, especially those two losers who are running, means a doubling, tripling, and even quadrupling of your energy costs. It will not be sustainable, and you will rue the day that you voted to destroy your life. Failing to vote tomorrow is the same as voting for a Democrat. Find your voting locations. He's talking about where they can get their locations at. This guy is losing his mind. I mean, it's already lost, but what he's trying to do is somehow tell you that your energy costs will go up, that your grocery prices will go up, that if you vote for this, these are going to be doubled, tripled, and quadrupled. That's the problem, bro, is that people might vote this way because all that shit's already happened under your policies. I know. I'm just pointing out the obvious. So in order to pull off the full trifecta of freaking the fuck out, here's what Donald Trump finished up with. That was at least this morning, because he didn't think that dumb long-winded post was effective, so he decided to go with this. He says, any Jewish person that votes for Zohran Mamdani, a proven and self-professed Jew hater, all in capitals, is a stupid person. You know how that works. If you're considering voting for someone and you see a loudmouth blowhard scream on the internet about how you're a stupid person if you do, that really convinces you to go, you know what? If Donald Trump didn't call me a stupid Jew person, then maybe I would have voted against Zohran Mamdani. But since he says in all capitals, Jew hater, I'm convinced. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm glossing over the fact that whole first post from Donald Trump was talking about how he's going to withhold funds because he can control anything he wants, as people call him a wannabe dictator, but he denies it right before he then gives a policy of dictatorial rule. Last one, I'm gonna let you guys go. I know we're over. So in case Donald Trump's freakouts and insults didn't convince you, we'll leave it to Elon Musk. He said, remember to vote tomorrow in New York. This is Elon Musk. He says, bear in mind that a vote for Curtis is really a vote for Mum Dummy, he writes, or whatever his name is. Vote Cuomo, all capitals. So let's call Mamdani Mum Dummy, and scream vote Cuomo. Maybe someone should ask these guys. I'm sure maybe someone has in these threads. Why is the guy that you guys are openly and full-throatedly endorsing running away from phone calls when asked about your endorsements? Is he proud of you? Is he proud of the partnership that you guys have built together? This coalition of the asshole? I'm just wondering. Maybe someone should ask them that. They suck at this. Okay, I'm gonna let you guys roll. Those of you that haven't already, but calm down. Don't yet. I'm gonna do the same thing at the same time. Here's this like button. Press that. It's a thumbs up. Also, come back later. These stories will be up, maybe a little bit cleaner. We'll put it up on the watch list as well. We'll be back every day at noon for a Wednesday. So don't forget. Also share this stream. Let folks know what we're doing. You know, we're running around with it like chickens with our heads cut off, but at least we're following the bullshit that these guys keep pressing on. Appreciate you guys. Enjoy your day. We'll see you guys tomorrow. We'll see if there's a new mayor of New York. We'll find out. See you guys then. All right, man. Bye.